Dr. Vrentix Omath had performed over 40,000 xenobiological examinations in his 3-century career, and he had never encountered a species quite so pathetically designed as humans. "Explain to me again how your species achieved spaceflight," Vrentix said, his 4 optical sensors focused on the medical scan rotating above his workstation. "Because according to these readings, you should have gone extinct before developing basic tool use." Captain Teagan Wade lay on the examination table in the medical bay of Nexus Station Tertius, trying to maintain patience while the Korvathian physician catalogued every biological inadequacy the human species possessed. She had been on the station for 6 hours now, waiting for medical clearance to continue her assignment, and Vrentix had spent most of that time expressing professional disdain for human physiology. "We are remarkably persistent," Teagan replied dryly. "It is a survival trait. Persistence is irrelevant when your cardiovascular system operates at pressures that would rupture most civilized species," Vrentix retorted. "Your cellular structure is fragile. Your skeletal system is heavy and inefficient. Your immune response is hyperactive to the point of self-harm. Your nervous system transmits pain signals with absurd sensitivity. And do not even get me started on your reproductive biology. I did not realize this was an evaluation of my entire species," Teagan said. "I was told this was a routine pre-assignment physical examination." "It is routine," Vrentix confirmed. "But medical protocols require I assess your fitness for prolonged exposure to mixed species environments. Frankly, I am surprised humans are permitted in such environments at all. Your biology is so catastrophically unsuited to anything except your native Deathworld that I question the sanity of whatever regulatory body approved your species for interstellar commerce." Teagan had encountered anti-human prejudice before. Earth had only joined the Galactic Commonwealth 30 years ago, and many established species viewed humans as dangerous primitives from an inexplicably hostile planet. But Vrentix's disdain seemed particularly clinical, less bigotry and more genuine professional bewilderment at how humans managed to survive at all. "If you are going to fail my medical clearance, please do so quickly," Teagan said. "I have a mining survey to complete, and the window for optimal asteroid positioning closes in 72 hours. I have not decided whether to fail you," Vrentix replied. He manipulated the holographic display, zooming in on Teagan's cardiovascular system. "Although I should. Your blood pressure is dangerously high by any reasonable standard. Your heart rate is elevated. Your stress hormone levels suggest chronic anxiety. And your body appears to be in a constant state of low-grade inflammation. That is normal for humans," Teagan said. "Normal does not mean healthy," Vrentix countered. "The Korvathian cardiovascular system operates at 30% of your pressure levels. Our stress responses activate only during genuine emergencies, not as a baseline state. Our immune systems target pathogens without attacking our own tissues. This is what properly evolved biology looks like. Properly evolved for your world," Teagan pointed out. "Humans evolved for Earth. Our biology is optimized for our environment." A Tellurian medic was attempting triage but was clearly overwhelmed. "Dr. Omath, thank the stellar currents you are here. I have 17 patients and most of them are not responding to standard antitoxins. I need help immediately." Vrentix assessed the casualties with professional efficiency. "What compounds were they exposed to?" "Compound Helix 7, the medic replied. "A synthetic corrosive designed to break down silicate minerals. It is highly reactive with biological tissues. I have administered universal neutralizers, but the compound is too aggressive. It is causing systemic damage faster than I can treat it." Vrentix began examining the patients. His optical sensors scanned each one, his internal medical database analyzing symptoms and calculating treatment protocols. But Teagan could see the frustration in his movements. Whatever training he had received was not sufficient for this situation. "These patients require immediate cellular stabilization," Vrentix announced. "But I do not have sufficient treatment capacity for 17 casualties simultaneously. I need to prioritize critical cases. Everyone else will have to wait. That means some of them will die," Teagan said quietly. That means some of them might survive, Vrentix corrected. Triage is about maximizing survival rates when resources are insufficient. It is brutal but necessary. Teagan moved to the nearest casualty, a Vintherian whose exoskeleton was dissolving where the compound had made contact. The damage was extensive and spreading rapidly. What are you doing? Vrentix demanded. I told you to stay back. This patient needs immediate intervention or they will die in the next 5 minutes, Teagan replied. She was already pulling medical supplies from her kit. Your triage is going to let them die because you calculate they are too damaged to save with available resources. I am not accepting that calculation. You cannot save them, Vrentix snapped. The compound is too aggressive. Even with proper medical equipment and trained personnel, the survival probability is less than 30%. Then I will work with 30%, Teagan said. She began treating the Vintherian with movements that were swift and practiced. But she was not using standard Galactic Commonwealth medical protocols. She was improvising. What are you doing? Vrentix demanded. That is not proper treatment procedure. Proper procedure is taking too long, Teagan replied. This patient needs neutralization now, not after we run diagnostics and calculate optimal dosages. I am using aggressive intervention with higher risk but faster results. She injected a massive dose of neutralizing agent directly into the Vintherian's damaged exoskeleton. It was far more than standard protocols recommended. It could cause additional harm. But it might also save the patient's life before the corrosive compound killed them. Vrentix watched in horror. You just administered a dosage that could cause toxic shock. You have no idea what that might do to their system. I know what the corrosive compound will definitely do, Teagan replied. It will kill them. So I am trying something that might work instead of watching something that definitely will not work. The Vintherian convulsed. Their vital signs spiked erratically. For 10 seconds, it looked like Teagan's intervention had killed them. Then the convulsions stopped. The vital signs stabilized. The corrosive damage stopped spreading. Impossible, Vrentix whispered. That should not have worked. It worked because I did not wait for it to be safe, Teagan said. She was already moving to the next patient. I did what needed to be done regardless of risk. Now are you going to help me or are you going to keep telling me what I cannot do? What followed was 3 hours of the most chaotic medical response Vrentix had ever participated in. Teagan moved from patient to patient, using techniques that violated every medical protocol Vrentix had learned. She administered aggressive treatments without waiting for full diagnostics. She performed procedures that should have required surgical facilities. She made decisions in seconds that should have taken minutes of careful analysis. And somehow, impossibly, it worked. Patients who should have died survived. Injuries that should have been permanent were stabilized. 17 casualties became 17 survivors, all because a human with supposedly inferior biology refused to accept that any of them were beyond saving. When the emergency response team arrived with proper containment equipment and advanced medical facilities, every casualty was stable enough for transport. The senior medical officer assessed the scene and looked at Vrentix with confusion. How did you manage this? The officer asked. Initial reports indicated at least 40% fatality probability with these injuries. Vrentix did not answer immediately. He was looking at Teagan, who was exhausted, covered in various biological fluids, and swaying slightly from fatigue but still conscious and functional. I had assistance, Vrentix said finally. From Captain Wade. The senior officer looked at Teagan with surprise. A human? Humans have no training in Korvathian medical protocols. No, Teagan agreed. But I have training in emergency medicine under impossible conditions. Which is apparently what was needed. After the casualties were evacuated and the contamination was fully contained, Vrentix requested Teagan return to his medical bay. She complied, though she looked ready to collapse from exhaustion. I need to complete your medical examination, Vrentix said. I thought you already decided I was biologically inferior, Teagan replied. I need to run additional tests, Vrentix insisted. What you did in Sector 7 should not have been possible. You were exposed to the same contaminated environment as the casualties. You should be exhibiting symptoms of chemical exposure. Instead, you appear merely tired. I wore protective equipment like everyone else, Teagan pointed out. Protective equipment that was compromised during treatment, Vrentix countered. I observed at least 3 instances where your suit was breached. Minimal exposure, but exposure nonetheless. Any other species would be in medical care right now. Yet you are standing here arguing with me. So your new theory is that humans are magically resistant to xenochemicals? Teagan asked. My theory is that I do not understand human biology as well as I believed I did, Vrentix admitted. Please submit to additional testing. I need to understand what I witnessed. Teagan sighed but returned to the examination table. Vrentix performed a comprehensive medical scan, this time analyzing her readings with genuine curiosity rather than dismissive judgment. What he found changed everything he thought he knew about human physiology. Your immune system, Vrentix said slowly, staring at the results, is not hyperactive. It is adaptive. What does that mean? Teagan asked. It means your body responded to the xenochemical exposure by immediately generating antibodies and neutralizing agents, Vrentix explained. Your immune system analyzed a compound that did not exist on your homeworld, that your species has never encountered before, and developed a response within minutes. This should not be possible. Why not? Because adaptive immunity requires exposure, time, and genetic memory, Vrentix said. Your body should not be able to respond to novel threats this quickly. Yet your readings show active immune response to compound Helix 7, which you were exposed to for less than 20 minutes. Your body not only survived exposure but actively fought it. He pulled up additional data. And it is not just your immune system. Your cardiovascular system, the one I mocked for operating at dangerous pressures. Those high pressures allowed your blood to circulate neutralizing agents faster than any other species could manage. Your nervous system, the one I criticize for being hypersensitive to pain. That sensitivity allowed you to immediately detect which treatments were working and which were not, adjusting your approach in real time based on patient feedback. Your inflammatory response, which I said was pathological. It was actually rapid tissue repair, accelerating healing in the casualties you treated. Vrentix looked at Teagan with something approaching awe. Everything I identified as weakness was actually advantage. Your biology is not poorly designed. It is designed for exactly what you did today. Rapid response to novel threats. Functioning under extreme stress. Adapting to impossible conditions. This is not inferior biology. This is the most aggressively optimized survival biology I have ever encountered. We evolved on a death world, Teagan said quietly. Everything on Earth was trying to kill us. Our biology adapted to survive constant threat. That is what death world evolution creates. But you do not just survive, Vrentix said. You thrive. Under conditions that should incapacitate you, you function. Under exposure that should kill you, you adapt. I have been practicing medicine for 3 centuries and I have never seen anything like what you did today. You saved lives that I had already written off as unsavable. Not because you had better training or equipment. Because your biology allowed you to function in ways mine could not. He sat down heavily, his 4 manipulator appendages drooping. I owe you an apology, Captain Wade. I mocked your species. I called your biology pathetic. I suggested you were unsuited for interstellar civilization. I was wrong. Catastrophically wrong. Your biology is not a liability. It is an asset that the Galactic Commonwealth does not yet understand or appreciate. You were working with the information you had, Teagan said. Human biology does look strange compared to species from more hospitable worlds. I understand why you reached the conclusions you did. That is generous, but it does not excuse my behavior, Vrentix replied. I made assumptions based on my own limited perspective. I compared your species to mine and concluded you were inferior because you were different. That is the worst kind of medical prejudice. I am supposed to evaluate biology objectively, not through the lens of my own species' standards. He pulled up Teagan's medical scans again. I need to publish these findings. The medical community needs to understand what human biology is actually capable of. You are not fragile. You are resilient in ways we have never encountered. Your high blood pressure is not pathology, it is rapid response capability. Your hyperactive immune system is not a disease, it is adaptive defense. Your sensitivity to pain is not weakness, it is sophisticated environmental awareness. Everything about your biology makes sense when evaluated in context of Earth's conditions. Will that change how humans are treated in the Commonwealth? Teagan asked. It should, Vrentix said. If medical professionals understand that human biology is optimized for crisis response, you will be recognized as valuable emergency responders rather than liability cases. If we understand that your apparent vulnerabilities are actually sophisticated adaptation mechanisms, humans will be seen as assets rather than risks. You could revolutionize emergency medicine across the galaxy simply by being what you are. That is a lot of pressure based on one incident, Teagan said. One incident that demonstrated capabilities I have never seen in 3 centuries of medical practice, Vrentix countered. Captain Wade, what you did today was not luck. It was not recklessness. It was the application of biology and training that made you uniquely suited to handle that specific crisis. You saw patients I had written off and refused to accept my assessment. You took risks I considered suicidal and made them work. You functioned under conditions that should have incapacitated you. That is not normal. That is exceptional. He met her eyes with all 4 of his optical sensors. I mocked you. I dismissed your species. I suggested you were inadequate for interstellar service. Instead, you saved 17 lives while simultaneously educating me about the limitations of my own understanding. That is humbling. And I am grateful for it. So I am cleared for my mining survey? Teagan asked with a slight smile. You are cleared for any assignment you want, Vrentix replied. In fact, I am going to recommend you for emergency medical response certification. Your training is clearly sufficient, and your biology gives you capabilities that other species lack. You should be recognized for what you are, a highly effective emergency responder whose apparent weaknesses are actually strengths we did not understand. 3 weeks later, Teagan was completing her mining survey when she received a communication from Nexus Station Tertius. Dr. Vrentix had published his findings on human adaptive biology, and the paper had created significant discussion in the medical community. Your species is being reevaluated, Vrentix reported via subspace communication. Medical protocols are being revised to account for human capabilities. Several research institutions have requested permission to study human emergency responders to better understand how your biology functions under crisis conditions. You have sparked a revolution in how we think about Deathworld species. I just did my job, Teagan replied. You exceeded every expectation of what your job should have been, Vrentix corrected. And in doing so, you changed how the galaxy sees humanity. That is more than anyone expected from a routine medical examination. I suppose you will not be mocking human biology anymore, Teagan said. Never again, Vrentix confirmed. I learned an important lesson. What looks like weakness can be strength in disguise. What appears pathological can be optimization we do not recognize. And the species we dismiss as inferior might actually be the ones we need most when disaster strikes. Thank you for teaching me that, Captain Wade. It was the most valuable education I have received in 3 centuries. The communication ended. Teagan returned to her mining survey, but she felt different somehow. She had spent 30 years navigating a galaxy that saw humans as primitives from a hostile world. She had encountered prejudice and dismissal. She had been told repeatedly that human biology was inadequate for interstellar civilization. And in one chaotic emergency, she had proven all of that wrong. Not through argument. Not through demonstration of superior technology. But simply by being what Earth had made her, a survivor optimized for impossible conditions. A human whose apparent vulnerabilities were actually the adaptations that saved lives when nothing else could. That was the lesson the galaxy was learning about humanity. That Deathworld biology was not a curse. It was preparation for the crises that peaceful worlds never taught their species to handle. And when those crises came, humans would be ready. Because that was what Earth did. It created survivors. And survivors, the galaxy was discovering, were exactly what it needed. If you enjoyed this story, like the video and subscribe for more.